All right, hello Tiger fans. Welcome in. I thought I'd do a live season review of 2025. So I've brought in JR, who's quite commonly pops up on Tiger Footy Cast, Twitter as well, and really good at his info. So I thought we'd jump him in and we'll have a discussion about the season. We'll do a whole breakdown from the back line, midfield, forward, and ruck, individual players as well, and we'll go with how they were for the season, and maybe what we want them to improve on, or if we think they're going to be delisted, traded, or maybe even some of these players don't have a contract yet. So we'll see what we want to go from there. How you going, mate? Having a good week so far?
Yeah, not too bad. Missing the footy already.
The season's only just finished.
Yeah, I know. Been like 2 days.
Oh, well. What do you think of the Geelong game? We'll start with that one quickly before we get into the whole breakdown. What do you think of the Geelong game on the weekend?
Well, overall, you take the result, but in the second half, it did look like they could blow us out of the water. I was really hoping we wouldn't lose the game by 100 because that was the one box we still had to tick off for the year. I'm happy with how they responded in the second half, even though I think Geelong took the foot off the pedal, not just wanting to preserve themselves for the business end. But we still got some learnings out of it, I think.
Were you happy with Josh Gibcus being subbed off?
I wasn't surprised by it. It made sense. If we had played him out and something happened to him, which would affect his preseason, you've got to look at what's the gain by keeping him on. He's had a taste of footy. He was obviously pissed off about it himself, which is great because it shows what it means to him. It's been a long road back. But overall, it didn't bother me too much. And having Trainer go back to replace him made sense as well. Because I think I'd like to see him play there next year as well.
I think you have to. I think with Trainers, his interception marking ability is just too good. So, no, I like that Ooze sat down and had that conversation with him. So he wasn't just feeling like he was made to sub and sit in that corner. Ooze came down and it probably explained it to him why he was being subbed off. And I think it kind of gives off the same vibes of what they did with Tyle Sunzi against, I think it was Essendon, when they subbed him off and Ooze came and sat down with him and had a conversation with him to kind of like break it down of why we're doing this.
Yeah, I think it's good to explain it because obviously I hate the sub rule myself, but someone's got to come off. And in Gibcus's case, if we had played him and something happened, we'd probably spend a lot of time regretting that over summer.
But it does. One thing I do like about it, giving him that, it gave him that bit of a taste of what it takes to be AFL. So he goes, I've had a bit of taste. I can go back to the VFL, play a couple of games, and then get myself fully fit and ready to go for next year.
Yeah, it's also a good reward for the hard work he's done to get back to where he is now.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, we'll get into it, man. Where do you want to start from? Do you want to start from the rucks, the mids, forwards, or back line? What do you want to break into first?
We'll go from the back line to the forward line, I guess.
Yeah, right. We may as well. Our back line was probably the strongest part of our whole entire season, or most of our group. So I broke it down into individual players. As you can see, midway through, I realized I made a mistake and had to temporarily glue Broady back onto the screen afterwards. I was like, I forgot about Broad. So all right, we'll start off with Jacob Blight. What would you give him for a rating out of the season?
I actually didn't think he played too badly. He just seems to be out of favour, which is like, that seems to be why they've dropped him. And given that he didn't play the extra game to trigger the contract, it might hint that we might be looking to trade him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was wondering because really the thing about it, I can't remember when he got dropped, but he didn't really do much wrong to ever get dropped in the first place.
Right.
I'm guessing eventually they started to see that Young was going to play better, and they could see that maybe Blight was going to one day ask to go home. But I think it was a bit stiff. I think the time when we didn't have any forwards to go in there, that's why I thought he should have been in with Lynch playing as that extra forward and hit out rucks. So I think he's gone. I definitely, in my opinion, where he's going to be gone, he's going to be next year. He's going to be Freo or West Coast. Look, I wouldn't even be surprised if North Melbourne come knocking on the door for him because they need some defenders. So I wouldn't be surprised if North would like him cheap. Like it wouldn't cost you much to get him. But it sucks because I think he's a really good player. And he seems to have a lot of. I've seen some of the videos when he's done podcasts where he really appreciates the club to give him that opportunity to live his dream. And I feel like now we're kind of just stabbed him in the back by constantly not giving him enough games to even. I don't even care about the trigger. I think he just deserved more games.
Yeah, how many play? 7 played.
7. So what he needed 8 games to obviously hit the trigger.
Yeah, because we heard during that week that he needed that extra game to trigger the contract extension, and then he was dropped and didn't play again.
Since then, yeah, which is a bit sus.
It's got to look about it that he.
Sorry, say again.
Yeah, it had a look about it that he's either looking to move on, or he's being told, or one or the other.
Well, I think he has value on the market, so I'm definitely not against the club maybe trying to get a 3rd or a 4th round pick for him. Considering we need it anyway for Callaway as a father and son.
Yep.
We'll go into Luke Trainer. Now, I know a lot of the Tiger Cast boys have got certain players that they've picked. I'm claiming Luke Trainer as my player. I love him. He's played, I think it was 21 games this year. I think he's missed 1 game. He's played a couple of sub games, which I didn't mind because they were reporting that he had a hip issue. I think he started off really good in midway through the season. You definitely see he dropped off. I think he started getting a little bit sporadic, but at the same time, for his year, he was kind of thrown around. You know how he started off as a defender, then he went forward, then he went wing. I think they just kind of threw him off balance. So I do agree with you what you're saying off camera that he needs to stay as a defender now. So what do you reckon of Luke Trainer this year as a first year player, pretty much, who looks like he's played about 150 games?
Yeah, I know he's been fantastic for us. I certainly do agree that he needs to stay as a defender. That's what we drafted him as. It's just that we couldn't fit him into the side, and playing him on the wing was a way to get him games in a spot that wasn't really locked away from anyone.
Which is crazy to think that it's not enough spots, but considering Gibkiss is going to be back and better next year as well, so it's going to be this back line. If you look at the name, like the players we've got, it's going to be a challenge to get into this back line.
It's good though; it creates competition for spots, and it's certainly going to be interesting summer to see who can put their case forward.
Right, out of rate, we'll give a rating. Going forward,
going forward, I see Gibkiss and Trainer taking over from Vlastuin and Broad on the side.
Yeah,
so over time, I think that's what will happen. So, and given that it's Broad's final year last year, which is already declared, and Vlastuin obviously is very much locked into our side, Trainer may spend more time on a wing again next year just to get him into the side, or even play him as part of the back line off the bench.
Yeah,
to rotate the guys through.
Well, if you think about that, with the idea of the sub rule going, and they're just going to have a 5-man bench, it's not going to hurt to have him on there as that 5th defender who can really play any position as a defender. Like, he's quite versatile if you think about it as a defender. I think once he puts on a bit of strength, I think he'll be a lot better as a one-on-one defender. What would you give him a rating?
Yeah, a rating. Well, I've got his player rating on Wheelo.
Well, give us his player rating. We'll go with that. That can't hurt.
All right, so his player rating on Wheelo was, where is he? 4.16. And where that is low is because of his disposal efficiency.
Yeah.
His kicking efficiency was 64.8, which is not very high for a backman.
Yeah, no.
But that's overall.
He was drafted in his draft profile. He was drafted as an elite kicker as well, where players wanted the ball in his hand because he was good football with his foot. So that's probably something I think he needs to improve on going into next year, is just his kicking skills. At least get him back to what he was, not rushing so much.
Yeah, that'll come with game time. I think if he can improve that, his rating would be a lot higher because he does plenty other things very well. For a guy,
I reckon he's gone, if you think about this, I think he's gone under for Luke Trainer, for the draft players that were drafted for the last year's draft, which was a super draft. I reckon he's probably gone under the radar of how good he actually has been, because obviously all the talks about Ashcroft and Murphy Reed and all that, and Harvey Langford, but he's played. I think he's like up there with Murphy Reed and Levi Ashcroft played the most games as a rookie.
Yeah.
So feel like we don't take to appreciate
Yeah.
that, considering he's only missed one game this whole entire season. I feel like people kind of forget about that.
Yeah. Well, he missed one and he was a late withdrawal against North as well in the second last game, as well as the sub games to get him through. So, and given that he's apparently been carrying a hip, he's got a lot of improvement in him even before he puts a bit of size on over summer.
Yeah.
Because
we'll go on
to how much that can inhibit them as well.
Yeah, true. And I think it was probably maybe he needed a rest, not be the sub, just don't play him at all. I think he definitely probably a couple of weeks prior, probably in that round 18, 19, really when he was the sub constantly, really should have just gave him a week off completely and just gave him the proper rest.
Yeah, the problem we had there is we had so many blokes out, we didn't really have anyone to come in.
Yeah, we only had, I think, 3 people in the VFL at one stage. So,
yeah.
But we'll move on to... Go.
Yeah, right.
There you go, mate.
I was just going to say that they're the weeks that you mentioned. If we had other guys fit, then he might have been given a rest.
Yeah. Definitely needed it. So we'll move on to Caleb Smith. It's probably hard to give him much of this season, just considering he's been so in and out. What do you reckon of Caleb Smith? Do you reckon he stays or reckon he goes?
That's a hard one. I'd like to keep him for depth because he does perform well in the VFL. He just hasn't taken his chances at the next level up. So it is a tough one as to what we do. I'm not sure which way we'll go, to be honest. Yeah,
I reckon he'll be gone just because you've got to create the list spots. But I think as when he was in the AFL, I think he just seemed a bit too timid, or he wasn't disposing of the ball quite well. I think compared to what he was when he's in the VFL, he seems to be that player that's above the VFL level, but just can't seem to get the AFL level quite right, which I think was what's going to burn him. I think he'd be out of contract as well, so haven't heard much about him getting a new contract, so I think he'll be gone.
Yeah, it's probably not a fantastic sign if you get to the end of the season unsigned. Having said that, another guy we'll talk about soon in Tyler Young has certainly earned a new deal. But I can understand why he's not been signed because he's missed half the year with injury.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, we'll go on to probably the best tackle of all time. Well, up there with Rioli in Tom Brown. What do you reckon of his season so far?
Yeah, fantastic. He's had a breakout season.
There we go.
He's definitely found his spot down back. And remember late last year we played him forward. He's definitely found his spot down back. And he's certainly a good player going forward. I'm really happy with how he's improved defensively this year.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to ball watch as much as he was last year, which was a bit of a concern, where he would be too busy trying to watch where the ball goes and he forgets that he's a defender and he's got a man on him and the man floats away and ends up getting the ball. So you can definitely see he's found something to improve on. His kicking, I think, has got better, which is crazy to say, considering even his first year, he was a real good defender. I would say his confidence for the season has gone up every single game. He had a few hiccups, at the start of the year. But, I think it was a couple of games. I'm trying to think what it was. The Gold Coast game, he did really well. He's starting to get confident with that overhead marking ability as well, which is, what you kind of want. Really kind of rate like Luke Traynor would be like a younger Tom Brown in the coming years as well, where how they both kind of play, same body style. I'm just trying to think of who. I feel like Tom Brown might be like the Dylan Grimes. I know that's a high rating because Grimes was a superstar, but I think he plays a bit like Dylan Grimes does, where he can play on the tools. Obviously not a super key tool right now, but he also can play on the smalls at the same time as well.
Yeah. Well, to give you an idea of how he's improved this year, he's intercept marking this 1.7 per game. That's up there with Miller and Blight. So he's almost intercept marking like a key defender, which he'll get Floston, he's 2.6, which is a bit higher. But that's a similar sort of role. But he might be it might be Traynor that plays a more defensive role because Brown's got a better foot at this stage.
Yeah. Also, which means he's improved from last year for reading the play a lot better as well.
Yes. That's what helps with the marking as well.
Yeah. Well, so what would you give him for the year as a rating yourself? What you think?
We'll
go with like an A grading or a B or a C. 9 out of 10, yeah.
Probably a B at this stage.
Yeah.
B at this
Do you
stage.
reckon he'll be a chance for most improved?
He'd be right up there.
Yeah, cool. I thought so as well. All right, we'll move on to Campbell Gray, which I know a lot of people have been really keen to see him play. And unfortunately, he's just this year for him, he's just been struck with a lot of injuries. And he did cop another injury in the wild card against the Giants on the weekend with concussion. So I'm pretty sure that rules him out for the finals, VFL finals this week.
Yeah, it would.
So, yeah, which sucks.
I was waiting for an update today because I didn't actually know what happened to him. I only saw the first half of the VFL before I had to leave for the G. I do have a good stat on Campbell. Campbell Gray, though, he's yet to lose a defensive one-on-one loss percent contest this year.
Oh, wow. Yeah, when he came in, he definitely didn't. He came in for that one game and he went out. And in that one game, I can't remember which game it was. Maybe it was against Essendon, but he didn't look uncomfortable. He's a very confident player. He's a big boy. He loves a good spoil as well. So I definitely. It's so hard. You want to keep. There's so many defenders that we have. You want to keep, and they're all having good seasons. A lot of them have had good seasons. And you're like, well, how do you find a spot for another defender? Because Gray, I think he'll stay. I know he's out of contract as well. He hasn't got a contract right now. I would give him a 2-year deal or a 1 year with a trigger. Just to obviously you're going to have a turnover eventually, but I'm all for the 1 year plus to keep him because I think if you were playing the games that he played in the AFL, I'd probably give him a 7.5 on how he played when he was actually playing for us.
Yeah. I would probably go the 1 year with a trigger too. I'd like to go 2, but the problem is that Tassie start rating in 2 years, so we need to avoid that. So 1 year, and then we look at that, and then maybe give him 2 or 3 after that, which avoids the Tassie problem.
Yeah, which I think it's going to happen whether we like it or not. So
yeah, and
they can't get Seth Campbell.
And so he's our number one for spoils per game.
That's insane. That's insane. How many games did he play? You got that stat there?
He only played 3, so it's a small sample size, but he certainly knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty good sample size if in 3 games you can prove that you're nearly one of the better defenders.
Yeah. And the other thing I noticed with him too, he's got good closing speed.
Yes. Yeah, he's got some good pace on him. I watched a few VFL games where he got better in the VFL game for his second efforts, which is what I really was keen for him when he got in. Is where he'd get the ball, tackle the player would fumble it, and he'd pick up the ball. And his burst of speed from bending down to getting upright and taking off was so impressive, and I was so rapt for it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yeah, he's going to be a good defender. He's going to be that really good running dash defender, but also who loves to jump. He loves to crash packs and just take everybody out and hit the ball out of the boundary line. So I was happy with his season. It sucks that he had those 2, I think it was 2 leg injuries back to back, which knocked him out for about a month and a bit.
Yeah. Because he had the knee, then he came back and did something else.
I think he did his hamstring.
Ah, yeah, that's the one.
Because it was like he was on the training track, so he never even got a game. He was available to play, and I think he just didn't get through the test for the training and hurt something again, so he was out again. So that was a bit of a bummer. But we do have good news because the next person we're going to talk about is Taylor. Now, everyone tells me I say it wrong. Is it Tyler or Taylor Young? Because the way it's spelled, I always say Taylor. People are trying to tell me it's Tyler. Yeah, so Tyler Young. Probably I remember when he first started playing, he was really good. A lot of people bashed him, didn't like him. He started to become the whipping boy. But since he come back from his ACL, I definitely think he's improved on his speed, which is insane to say when you come back from an ACL, you get faster somehow. I definitely think that's one thing he improved on. His kicking ability, like the dare to take the kicking ability got better. And his overhead marking seemed to be a lot better as well. What do you reckon of his season so far? Well, what do you reckon of his whole season when he came back?
Yeah, I agree with him being surprising when he came back because he was sort of a defensive wall sort of player before he got hurt. And then when he come back, he's added offense to his game as well, which is really good. And he's got a kicking efficiency of 85.9, which is fantastic for a player of that position. Yeah. And he's able to provide some drive on the back line as well as defend.
And he's made it, and him and Miller, I think, have created a really good 1-2 punch down there. Like when Noah Bolter was coming off his back from his curfew, my issue was you can't drop Young and you can't drop Miller. Young and him just create this really nice duo in the back line, and I was just like, well, how do you change it now? Young's come in and he's just put his hand up. Like he got that opportunity because we know Bolton missed out because of his stupid decision he did over the holidays. I just think Young came back and just took him with both hands, and which is what you want. Like this is what we're asking for these young players is to come in, take the game, and show us what they are. So
he's done really well.
Yeah. All right. We'll go on to probably one of the couple of last premiership players we've got left on our team, Jayden Short. What do you reckon of Shorty?
It was a bit of a whipping boy early on, and then he got hurt as well and was out of the side for a bit. Then when he came back, he's been playing a lot better. I haven't noticed any of those turnovers a lot of the turnovers he used to do when he was before he got hurt. So overall, I'm quite happy with how he's gone. He's one of the older guys. We do need experience in the side. So he's certainly one that I think Banks has learnt off a lot as well.
Yeah, well, it was weird. Do you reckon he had an injury at the start of the year? Because he had the injury. Now, that was meant to be, I think it was meant to be like a 1-week injury, and that turned into like 3 or 4. And then he played one game in the midfield in the VFL. I think he got 28 touches and pretty much came straight back in, and he was a different player.
Yeah, it's almost like he's had while he was out, he was maybe having a look at how he was playing and seeing how he can improve. He may not have been happy with his own form himself, which is possible.
Because he was the start of the year, he was definitely looking like the 2024 Jayden Short, where people were just like, I think he needs to retire. That was a lot of the talk that was going around at the start of the year. Those first few rounds was like, I think Shorty's done. I don't think he's got anything left in the tank to keep going. And then unless it maybe got rejuvenated by having Banks with him in the back line, because he came back a different player.
Yeah, I think because Banks has stepped up this year too, and I think that gives Short, we're less reliant on him, which might help. He's got less responsibility because it might free players up a bit more sometimes.
Because at the start of the year, Banks was a wingman, not a half backman. Then when Short went out, they put Banks back into the back flank. And then obviously when Shorty came back, they went, we can't take Banks out. He's averaging 450 metres gains and he was getting plus 20 plus disposals. So it worked, and I'm really glad that it worked because it probably he took over. I think he might be up as the leader down that back line. I know Brody and Glostone are there, but I definitely think Jayden Short is a very good leader for those backmen and those young ones as well.
Yeah. Another guy that I've noticed is, I'll go B overall.
B, yeah. Yeah, I'd give him probably a B minus just because, that start of the year wasn't the greatest and then he faded really bad at the start. The kicking was bad. The handball to nobody was causing us a lot of turnovers. But the B minus is because he eventually picked up back after his injury and seemed to come back to what won him a best and fairest in a premiership year as well. So that's what it felt he went back to, that 2020 when he won the best and fairest for us in that premiership year. So
yeah.
What about Nick Glostone? All Australian. So that's how good of a year he has. He had this year was that he's been named in the All Australian. I think it's a 40 squad. 40-man squad right now.
40-something.
So I think it's Thursday. They said they're going to release the top 22. I've got a bad feeling he's not going to get in. Well, I think he deserves it. I think he's been one of the best defenders in the competition, considering the team he's playing on. I think a lot of times Nick Glostone hasn't been appreciated because he's been in a losing side, and they don't take much credit to how much what it's like when we don't have Nick. I think if we had Nick through the rest of the North Melbourne game, it's a different game.
Yeah, we fell apart defensively when he went off. I think they announced the side Thursday night, and he absolutely should be in there.
He deserves at least one jacket before he retires because he's definitely deserved it more than Tom Stewart has.
think there was a stat that came out about a month ago. He had more over 5 years. He's had more intercept marks and I think disposals than Stewart. And Stewart's been in there
Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah. Times. Yeah, I know. It's like I said, that's the one thing I hate. It's the factor of the winning team. They put a lot of winning team players in there, not actually what the player does in that position, which seems to be with a lot of issues with the All-Australian these days. They just do whatever they can to fit the best players from the best teams in there, not the best player for that position. So,
yeah.
All right, what are you going to give?
Last year, they put Nick Dacos on the wing when he doesn't play there.
Yeah, exactly. What'd you give him out of a rating? I would give him an A.
A plus.
Yeah, A plus. Yeah, I think he'll take for how good his season is because he's he had a couple of games where he was his marking was like 12, 13 marks. And his interception was over I think it was like 12 a few games. He was starting to getting close to breaking records. And I love it because he's had young players around him to learn off him, to see what he does when he goes off his man. Like Nick himself has had good teachers. He's had Asprey, Rance, Hooley, Dylan Grimes. So he's had some good teachers during his younger days, and you can definitely see where he's learned it from. It's definitely why I think we need another year or two out of him before he hangs up the boots.
Definitely, at least another 2, hopefully 3 or 4. But three's probably realistic.
Yeah,
we absolutely need 2 more.
Yeah. We'll move on to Josh Gibcus. You want to start with that one?
Just happy to see him play in the end. It's been a long road back for him, and I felt so sorry for him over the last year or so. Seeing the side struggle and knowing that you can't get out there and help would be really hard to have to deal with.
Yeah. Especially for 527 days. That's how long he's been out for, which I believe was the start. Was it the end of 2023? I think it was end of 2023 that he was out.
Yeah, and then I think he played round 1 last year, and then another game I think they got hurt and hasn't played since.
Yeah, okay. So there you go. I can't really rate him for his season. Like hasn't really played enough to get a rating. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. He's contracted, I think, for another year or 2. And I think they see him as a future defender. I don't see that whole thing changing whatsoever with Gibcus. So, all right, we'll move on to the most controversial player on our team these days, and Noah Bolter. What would you give his up and down season this year?
I'd probably rate him a C. Obviously, his off-field issues are well known. I think that's had an impact on him. He did look down on confidence at times. Having said that, he played some good games against the Gold Coast at Marvel. We don't win that game without him. Yeah, he was fantastic that day or night. I think to go away over the off-season, have a break, and just unwind and start fresh again next year is the best thing for him.
Yeah, I do agree. You definitely can see that his confidence was crushed after this season. I know a lot of people have been saying to trade him away. He's not worth the 7 years you've got him. Everyone says that prior to the year before, he was our best defender. I think it's just the circumstances of what he put himself in. Next year, I think he'll be a totally different player. I don't know where he's going to play. If Young and Miller stay the way they were this year, I don't see him going back in the back line. But I'm not against him playing on the wing. I've seen a few people suggest that, or pinch ruck off the bench, because he's kind of that, got a good leap. He's strong. He's powerful. He has the good burst of speed as well, and we know he can kick a ball about 65 to 70 meters. So I definitely not against that. If I gave him, I'd have to give him a C or a D, just because he in 1 week, out 1 week, in when. That's why a lot of people were saying during the whole curfew, when he was having his curfew, that he should have just played VFL the whole entire time instead of in, out on him, because I think that just messed with his head so much.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Depends how he was handling it at the time. Like, he might have been fine, but he did look down on confidence in some games. But he did know what, when the sentence was handed down, he knew what the deal would be for the year. He just had to try and get by as best he could.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what about Ben Miller? What do you reckon of his season?
Yeah, fantastic. I would give him bordering a B, bordering close to an A.
Yeah.
for the season. He said he's been a defensive ball down back.
I reckon if I think about his season, I reckon, the only one game I reckon he really got tore apart was against Fremantle at the start of the year.
Probably, yeah.
I don't know if it was Voss or he just couldn't stick to him.
Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy. And then after that game, I think he just turned up the dial and he rarely kept Aaron Norton goalless.
Yep.
And Aaron Norton was having a great season before he came up against Richmond. And normally, Aaron Norton's bread and butter is Richmond. He normally kicks 4 or 5 against Richmond and gets his confidence even higher. And Miller just didn't let him do that. So I think he's a really high improvement. Now, I don't know if you've seen it much, but a lot of people are saying to trade him away back to WA because he's 20. I think he's 26, 27. They're like, oh, you're not going to get much out of him. Get him selling him while he's high because he's not going to be around for our next premiership. But in my opinion, he doesn't go anywhere. He stays here long term, long as he wants to.
Yep. One thing with Miller I have noticed, certainly later in the year, is he's the one who sets us up in the back line at stoppage.
Yeah.
So trading him away is a bit silly because he actually provides good leadership.
Yeah, he's turned into a bit of that general back there, hasn't he? Where he does, because he's the deepest defender. He sees he reads the play quite well, as we all know. You watch how many times he beats his man one-on-one so easily because he knows where the ball's going to go. So he seems to know what's coming ahead and where the plays need to be, which is really good for young players as well. So everyone's got to remember we are young. Miller. Yep. Miller's only at about 70 games. Is it 70 games this year, or he just cracked 50 this year? So you got to remember how Miller came in, I think 2017, 2018. I think it was in the pick 30s or 40s. Harbaugh didn't know what to do with him. He threw him around quite a fair bit as a forward. Then it was like a makeshift ruckman. Then he was a defender, back to forward, and Ooze came in and just told him, "No, you're a defender."
Yeah, he's played 69, so he's certainly done it the hard way.
Yeah, like 50. He's got close to, I think it was something like close to 50 games this year. So there you go. It just shows you how much he really wasn't getting game time where he should have been. Probably would have solved a lot of our drop-off issues if we had allowed him to have more game time, because as you can see what he is now, imagine he should be at 150 games nearly.
Yeah.
And could be one of the best defenders in the competition if he is at that stage right now. So, all right, well, we'll go on to Brody. What do you reckon of the old dog?
He just keeps on keeping on Brody. He's another one that's setting us up down back. And as I said before, he's openly said next year's his last year. So he understands the role of bringing on the younger guys to eventually take over his role. But he's been fantastic this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be sad to see him go. But I love his loyalty. Is one thing as besides his gameplay. Very good leader is one thing that you start to notice during the season. Very good with players, younger players as well. As we know, at the start of the year, he brought in Sam Lawler, took Sam Lawler into his house and all that sort of stuff. Turned down a fat contract from North Melbourne. North Melbourne definitely hit the defenders. It would be sad to see him go. Now, there was one game he missed. This is how much I knew how much impact he was having this year. I can't remember what game it was that he missed, or he went out really early. And it just felt like there was a giant hole missing in our team, and we just got torn apart in that back line. Brody came back the following week, and he was really good. And I was like, wow, that just shows me how much of an impact he has as a defender for us when Brody wasn't in the team, when he was out of the team, which is insane.
He got suspended, didn't he? For a rough tackle or something?
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been a 1 week one, but I just remember he missed I can't remember which one it was. He missed the game.
Yeah. Might have been he did it against Port over in Adelaide.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Memory.
But he missed a couple of games, and I felt the massive impact of not having Nathan Broad with that leadership. Still very good on one-on-one contests. Not as fast as he used to be. I can definitely see that. You can see that in his game right now. His speed has definitely dropped off compared to what he used to be. But still, the overhead marking is still there. The kicking ability is still there. The reading the play is still there. I think what he's lost in speed, he's gained in IQ. And it definitely showed up this year. And I think with us losing Grimesy, Dusty, Marlon Pickett, Cotchins and Reebok over the last couple of years, he's definitely stepped up this year. I've noticed it. The leadership qualities have definitely kicked in a lot higher in previous years. Right, we'll move on to who I'm voting as probably going to be the most improved award Sam Banks. So start off at the start of the year I'm pretty sure there was a wingman. When Shorty went down, then he went to the halfback. And I think he was averaging close to pretty much most of the year, close to almost 400 meters gained per game. And I think it's about 20. I actually had his season stats on my other computer ready to go because I wanted to see what the difference was, what he was compared to last year. And it actually has been quite a big jump on the difference that he has once he's settled down. So this year, he's actually averaging 21 disposals compared to his 16, which is now classified as above average. He has averaging 13.9 kicks, 7.2 handballs, 5.6 marks, 2.1 tackles, and he's averaged, 411 meters per game, which is above by
last year. That was 227.
Yeah, so it's a massive jump. He's
gone
from
double.
A lot of his stats last year were average or below average. He's gone above average completely from this year. So he's probably a player that I would give an A+ to. Probably maybe one of the only players who gets an A+ for this year.
Well, last year he averaged 12 touches. This year 21. Kicking efficiency last year 71, 76 this year. So yes, he's definitely improved quite a lot. I'm hoping he can go up another level again next year.
Which is the insane thing to think. So what is he? How old is he now? I've got it right here. So he's 22. So he's right down that age graphic to be the next core foundation that leads us to going into finals. He's at 43 games. So next year we'll get to 50. So what do you reckon? Probably in the next 2 years, we're going to start to see what kind of play it really turns into. I think he's a 2.0 of Bachar Houli.
That's not a bad call.
Maybe just faster by foot.
Yeah, that could be true.
That's what
I've actually got him as a potential future captain of the club.
Oh, shivers. That's a big one.
Yeah, maybe not the next one because he's a bit young for it, but maybe after that.
Yeah, well, 22. So when's his contract run out?
27, I think. End of 27.
Is he on a new deal?
Wrong on that. Yeah, we extended it this year.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, cool. Because he's another Tassie boy.
Yep.
Yeah, he played at the same club as Jack Reebok did. So I would hope that contract goes past 27.
Yeah, I think because we've got a few that are contracted in 27. I think we should be extending some of them next year just so Tassie don't get the chance to make some offers that'll get him to think. Because as far as cash goes, we can't compete with them.
Which, coming into the midfield group and the forward group will probably have that same sentiment on a lot of the players that we drafted from last year, where you go, well, do we want to extend them now so that you may not lose the core midfielder for a player that, they might do what the Giants did. They have this blank check where they can come in and give anybody whatever dollar sign they want to make an offer on them. So, all right, well, I'll give Banks an A+. What are you giving him?
Same.
Cool.
I'll go A- over the year because he had a fairly slow start as a winger in comparison. Yep. Then once he stepped into the back line, he was better. So A-. All
right. We'll move into the midfield, which is probably what people's most pet hates, considering how our midfield was this year. We'll start with James Trezise. Do you want to start off what you think of James Trezise's season?
He's played 16 games, which is surprising. I was going to say he's been in and out of the side at times. He's one that on the wing I think would like to see going forward. A left footer as well, which helps. A bit of a point of difference.
Yeah.
Just needs more games. Get more games into him.
How many games do you know how many games he's played? Overall, 16, in totality, sorry?
Overall. It was 16 this year. I'll just have a look.
Yeah.
Wheeler is now 24 altogether. And a few of those has been sub along the way as well.
So, yeah. Okay, cool. So I definitely like the idea. I definitely the start of the year, I think he started really well on that wing with that left foot. I definitely like the idea where they had the right, like Hugo L. Smith on one was the right footer, the other wing was the left footer. I think he's a hard nut. Definitely some of the things I've noticed when he started playing. Not afraid to hit the ball hard. Good overhead mark. Actually, that was a bit of a surprise. I started to notice that. Sort of, in my opinion, it's sort of a Brennan Ellis type player with that overhead marking ability. No matter how hard you bump him, he holds the ball really well. A little bit. I think he's a little bit more confident to not like Brennan Ellis used to kind of clench up a bit when the body contact was coming. Just Ice doesn't seem to do it. Definitely think he's improved. By the end of the year, I think he definitely has improved. The last 6 games of his 16, he definitely showed some good signs. And I like that they haven't... 16 games is good, which means next year if he plays it right, he might get close to 50 games. And then we can see what he is by next year, whether he's going to make it or not. Now, I'm not sure if he's out of contract because was he a mid-season or was he a rookie category listed player?
I think from memory, mid-season, we extended him and Steely Green at the same time for next year.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right. That's good. I really wish they had that. They don't have it in here, but the NBA does it where you can look up their all players' contracts and it tells you how long they're going for when they finish. Or if they have like a play option. I really wish the AFL created an app for that, which allows, content creators to see all their players' contracts to know, when they're out of contract, and it doesn't have to be the dollar amount, but just to know, they've got 2 years left or 1+1. I think it'd be a really good idea to do for someone like Ice. Like that idea is you can see it, so going on to the next couple of years, we know we've got this person, this person's contract ends. A bit more easier to see. Dion Prestia, the meatball. What do you reckon of the old meatball?
Yeah, he's still one of our better players. The tricky thing with him is his age.
Yes.
So, and he is still unsigned as we speak, but the rumor is he's going to sign an extra year.
Yeah.
I think the understanding there has to be that it's not for 23 games or whatever. It's going to be maybe just the Victorian ones.
Well, he played 12 games this year.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. Games he played, so 12. And his stats were about the exact same than he was last year, except he's changed his handball to kick ratio. So he's gone from more handballs than kicks. So he's gone on the website. It says he went from 12.1 kicks to 9.9, and his handballs went from 11 to 13. So his stats, the disposals are 23, but he's just stayed at the same. He just switched around, kicked the handball, which probably isn't the worst thing. But if I had to choose a player to kick in my midfield, I'm choosing Prestia over Hopper or Taranto. To kick the ball, I just trust Prestia's kicking ability a lot more. So they might need to go back the other way. I think he gets a 1-year contract. I just definitely think the 1-year contract for him has to be you're not guaranteed to play every game. Or you just bite the bullet now. You just go, hey, look, you're a great servant, but we're not going to have you for the rest of it anymore. We're going to bleed in some young talent now because you're going to have to start working that out. I love Prestia, and he like last week, great game against Geelong. He had 30 disposals and kicked 2 goals. So he's still really good at what he does. He's got slower, but he's very smart. So I'm all for, is it a coach/player contract sort of thing? What they did with Mitchell when he went to West Coast, where he was playing and then you just convert him straight to coaching. I just don't think his body's going to hold up much longer. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, he's only played half a year this year. And the kick to handball ratio is interesting because that might be it's less strain on your soft tissue where he's had issues when you're handballing more. But as from next year, I think we need to start inserting our kids into the midfield to get them game time. So I'm not against keeping him, but it can't be the full season. Otherwise, he'll end up. If we get to this time next year and the kids still haven't had a lot of game time because he's been playing along with the other two, we're not really developing the kids. So there's got to be that changeover next year.
No. And rating the whole club for their season by their players as well. But at the same time, you've got to take into account 12 games, and his season wasn't super. It was good. At the same time, I think we need to look into the future of going, do we need him around anymore? As much as I loved him when he came across from Gold Coast. I think him, Nank and Caddy were the last couple of pieces we needed to obviously complete the premiership team. And I hate to see him go because I think is he the only one? Him, Broad, Nick Flostone, and Meatballs are the only ones left from the 2017 flag team. So there's not many left.
Yeah.
So we're cutting down thin on the 2017 premiership team.
Yeah, it was.
And Macca, so we know Macca's gone. So yeah. Yeah. All right, Josh Smiley.
There's not much to say.
It's hard to really do this one, isn't it? Because
yeah,
like he played in the VFL a bit. It just sucked that he just couldn't get his body right. You reckon he couldn't get his body right, or do you think the club just took the precaution of this, considering the size of him? He's they're saying 195 centimeters as a midfielder. Some people say he's grown to about 197. He's a key position forward. Technically, he's just nearly the same height as Nate Curvis, and he's a midfielder.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, that the club was cautious as well as he couldn't get his body right. Obviously, he did have some issues with it, and then he was been in a training block for quite a while. Then had another, I think the quad went on him. But he was flying before Christmas in the preseason. We've just got to be patient with him.
Yeah.
The big question is, do we bring him into the VFL?
Another draft
if he's right to go.
I don't agree with that. I don't. I really don't. I get the idea for it. It'd be good to give him a couple of games into him before next year. But I was the same with Lawler when he came back. I didn't think it was a good idea, and I really think it's the same thing with Smiley. His season in totality has been a nightmare. Why not just let him keep rehabbing, and then next year bring him back in as he'd be a completely new draftee. He hasn't come into the side. Allow him to be a new draftee. This year he's adjusted to the life of an AFL player. Hopefully by then his body's, got into the groove of being an AFL player, and then you can unleash him next year with a proper preseason under himself. Because otherwise, I'm worried that he might go out there and then do the exact same thing again. Because all of his injuries are coming from training, not from playing.
Yeah,
then we'll move on to.
I'm good.
Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm the same. It's probably the same sort of question with Gibcus. You give him a taste of it, but then don't play him. So, I'm on one. If you get him through to day one of preseason, that really should be the aim from here. Yeah,
I definitely think so. Considering, he was picked 7 overall, and he's meant to be the key. Him and Lawler are meant to be the key midfield going for the future. And look, I know people probably forget about it, but it wasn't like everyone I know had good Bont and Patrick Cripps are. But in their first year as those guys are 195 centimeter midfielders. They weren't breaking through the gates and being this mega superstar in round one. They weren't like a Harley Reid in their first year. Most of those guys in their first year were injury or didn't play much because it's just their size. The club's trying to work out how to work them, train them, how to get their body right. So I just think he just needs another year to get his belt right and then go again. So we'll move on to Hugo Ralls-Smith. I think he's starting to become the new whipping boy for us. But what would you give him for a season?
He's been okay. Like the whipping boy stuff, I don't like that. But for some reason, supporters of every club seem to go after certain players. They're all doing as best they can, and there's a reason they're playing and we're in the stands watching. Is the way I look at that. He's been all right. He has cemented a spot on the wing, and I would like to think that he can go up a level again next year.
Questioning,
what he's been doing so far.
I've got his stats up here from the website. He's not great. It's all in the red. It's all below average. It's not a great.
Yeah.
So his disposals are at 13.4, which is below average. Kicking is 7.7 below average. Handballing is 5.8 below average. Marking was 3.4. And that's at average. Tackles 2.5 below average. Now it does say clearance at 0.8, but we know he's a wingman, so the clearance work isn't that high. He definitely had a few stinkers. I think the Essendon Dreamtime game against Essendon, where he just kept letting the debutant get away from him. It was a wingman and just kicked 3 goals.
Oh, yeah. Clark.
And it kind of helped him. I think if I'm going to criticize him on anything for his season, look, I don't ever criticize him on his running and his dash, his ability, his second efforts. It's more the defensive laps are really not great. Really something that he'd have to focus on next year. Because he had a really good 2024. He was probably one of the most improved players. Obviously, doing an injury isn't great, but he just didn't start great. And I just think the defensive, if he could fix the defensive capabilities of himself and make himself maybe more accountable, I'll be all for it.
Yeah, improved defensively and also disposal efficiency of 68.3 for an outside player is not fantastic. He certainly needs to improve there as well.
What's the average disposal efficiency for an outside player? Do you know? Does it tell you? You'd think it'd be 70. You'd think it'd be in the 70s, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for an outside player, you're not getting as much contested ball, so you should be able to have more freedom to dispose of the ball. Whereas if you're an inside mid, it's all in traffic.
Yeah,
he's actually the one that we get it out to.
So you'd love to see that pushing towards the 80s. Yeah, which is what I want. And if I was rating his season, it would have to be a C, just because of the injury, and probably when he was playing, he's just that you could definitely see the next stage of his career needs to be the defensive side and definitely needs to improve on. Well, there's one for you, mate. Let's see if you agree with this one. Ken has just put a comment in here. What do you reckon of that one? Trade and Hopper and Taranto.
Oh, if we got an offer for one of those, probably Hopper would maybe do it. But you'd certainly have the discussion. Because the thing is, to keep these guys as good as they're going, we are going to have to play them as well.
Yeah.
It's a good. With Dion being the age he is, we might be better off keeping them. Because if you trade one of them and then Dion retires after next year, basically you'll have Taranto and kids.
Yeah, and that's
which
really
is similar to what we had last year.
And we're losing McIntosh as well. So that's the other one as well. You're letting McIntosh go this year, unless they've got some sort of trade target that's going to come in as a midfielder that's in the early stages of their career, where they're at 50 to 100 plus games, where that's going to fill the void of Hopper. All right, we'll move on to where we're at to Kane McAuliffe. Now, I love Kane McAuliffe. I think he when he was playing, he was probably one of our better players delivering inside 50. I really noticed that when he was playing in the VFL, he was in I think he was averaging 30 disposals. Really, I think he's one of our future midfield players. I definitely think so. Really clean, good by hand. Unfortunately, just couldn't kick a few goals at the start of the year when he was so close.
That's right.
But I think he's a pure mid, in my opinion, for him for his future as well. And this year seems to me that's how they really only played him, was a pure mid.
Yeah, I don't mind him. He's just got to get his body right.
It does seem to break down a bit.
Contested possession rate of 41.3 is pretty good for an inside mid as well.
Yeah.
Just got to get his body right and get games into him. But going forward, because obviously we'll have Lawler, Smiley, and Houghton going through the midfield. He would be the more defensive of the midfield group that we have going forward.
Yeah.
That's the sort of role I'd see him playing.
Yeah, I definitely agree on the defensive side. Seems to love a tackle as well. So it's hard to give him much of a rating, just considering, he hasn't really got a chance to play too many games. His VFL was elite when he was playing. So I'll probably just give him a C. You put him back in that C class of, showed some signs, but it can't hold up.
Yeah, didn't play enough games to go above C.
Yeah. Jacob Hopper, what do you reckon? So I think Hopper played every game. I think it's every game this year. I don't think he missed
Yeah,
he missed one game, or did he make it every? Did he play every game?
No, he's played every game this year. Let's have a look. Is that the first one?
23. Yeah, he played 23 games. Yeah, all 23 games. So better than what he was last year when he played 12, and then his first year was 16. So he's definitely got his body right, which is probably fair to him and Serple, where they've kind of worked out, got Hopper's body right and Taranto's body all firing on all cylinders this year. And I think you can't give these boys and those two real. I'll go with Hopper first, but you really can't give him enough credit for what he did, because he really did carry most of the load for our midfield team, considering how young we were. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins our best and fairest, just considering how well he played. He did eventually start, I think, near the middle of the year when they started playing some of the younger boys. He did start going forward and kicking some goals, which is what he was so good for when he was playing at the Giants, where he would sneak forward and snag a couple of goals. He's got a real good highlight reel of selling the candy and kicking that goal from 45 after he gave the old candy sell and got around the player and kicked that goal. But I can't appreciate him enough for what he's done for the whole entire season. I think I'm really impressed with, going from a game where you couldn't get past 15 games a year because your body kept failing to playing every single game and pretty much being at every centre bounce every part of the day. I think he was at something that was like 50 within 4 games. He was really high on the centre bounce attendance for us, and unfortunately, kind of had no choice at the start of the year. But I'm quite happy with him. What do you reckon? What do you reckon of his season so far? Well, his whole season this year.
Well, the CBA percentage for the year, we've got Taranto at 81.4, then Hopper 81.3. So they've put in a massive shift this year. Prestia 69.2, then McAuliffe at 58.8. So those two in particular have put in a massive year. But certainly for what we're getting them for, they're holding the fort up until the kids are ready to take over.
Yeah,
is how I see them.
Now, Ken did say that he would be looking to trade Hopper. If he asked to go because he wanted to go to a contender, or you gave him the opportunity if you wanted to, would you let him go, or would you do the whole hold on to him and allow him to stay?
I would actually keep, because at the moment the kids aren't ready to take over that spot. And if you let him go and Dion can't play a full season pretty much. So you're leaving too few for a lot of kids that aren't ready yet. Once they are, then we'll have the discussion.
Yeah. Well, I think next year they have to, with him, I think to not have to allow him to have that many CBAs, he needs to go forward. So when you bring up, say, Smiley or Lawler or Houghton, he just doesn't have to go off the ground. He just goes to the forward. He's got good forward craft. And it does add a bit of leadership to our forward line if he does float down to the forward line to help out. I just think he's going to have to not have at 80. Was it you say it was 81% at centre bounce attendance?
Taranto 81.4 and Hopper 81.3. I would like to see that drop to below 75% for next year.
Yeah.
So that we give the kids more exposure the other way.
But it also gives Hopper a chance and Taranto a chance to rest as well. They're not getting beaten all the time, because Hopper isn't. Anything I'll give him credit for this year is he is a battering ram. Like, that guy is not afraid to throw his body into any sort of person or player or pack to get that ball out. So, all right, well, we'll move on to K-Mac, the old ball. I like to call him the ball mumber. What do you reckon of his season?
Yeah, he had a good final season. It's sad to see him go, but we do need to move on, unfortunately. He's been a wonderful servant for the club, and for anyone that hasn't seen his farewell speech to the playing group, do check it out. It goes for 19 minutes, but it's worth every minute of it. And he talks in there about the value of the role player, which is very much what he was. Yeah.
He owned that wing for the good and the bad of what people said about him. He definitely, he owned that wing. I think this year he's taken it upon himself as a better leader. I definitely think I think he might have known this was his last year, considering last year he was made to wait the whole entire year. I think he was like the last day that they could sign him. They signed him. I definitely think it's a bit harsh on him, but look, it is what it is, but it's sad to see him go. But we'll have to just live with it, won't we? Right, we'll move on to the next
all the older
controversial.
guys know the drill.
Yeah, he had to know by now that he was.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they signed him this year, they just said that it was going to be he'll just play when there's injuries, and besides that, he'll be in the VFL. So I'm impressed that he pretty much played nearly every single game this year, and he was a sub a couple of times. And when he was a sub, you never heard him complain. He just did his job. And when the players coming off the bench, the young ones, you could see him sitting on the bench, teaching and talking to these young fellas and telling them what they're doing wrong, what we need to do, what you're missing, and passing on his knowledge. And he's a great clubman. I think the club's going to miss him not being there as much. But I do agree with you. It is time to move on.
He was all because he played more inside this year, and he got some CBA time as it is. So without him there next year, you got 22.5%. So that's extra game time for a kid straight away in the midfield.
Yeah. All right, Tyler Sonsie.
Oh, another whipping boy.
Yeah, probably the whipping boy. If anything, before we go into his season, do you think he stays or do you think he goes? Because he hasn't got a contract yet.
Yeah. Well, he's played 16 this year. I think I'd keep him for a year, but if we got an offer, we might look at it.
Yeah.
I'm
all for the whole.
How do you reckon?
1+1 to keep him, if that's what I would do. I think after his sub off when he was really angry, he came back in. I think he was against West Coast, and you could definitely see the switch in his head on what he needs to do. I think when Ooze had that conversation with him, he definitely came back in. Look, and he's got the skill. One thing I will say, he has a skill. He's an elite kick.
Yep.
Good overhead mark. Definitely reads the play quite well. Good by hand as well. That's what he was drafted as an elite midfielder. But the whole problem was he got too scared of going near the contest, and that's what I was worried about with him. He was too scared of hitting the pack. He seems to have improved on it. He had a couple of bad games near the end of the season, but to me, he's shown a bit of sign to go again. I'm all for a 1-year contract with a possibility of a trigger, or maybe what they do in the NBA, team option, where at the end of the year the club can go, yeah, we want to keep you again. We can go on. He wouldn't cost that much to keep there anyway. So there's an opportunity. The reward is higher than the risk. You're not risking much money, and the reward could be higher for what you're paying him. So, and if I gave him a C, if I gave him for a rating, I'd probably give him a C+, just because the start of the year, he was really good in the VFL, and we all knew that. He'd go to the VFL, he'd kick a goal, 30+ disposals, come in, 15, go back out. But the C+ is because he came back, was given what he was doing wrong by Ooze, and he rectified it straight away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. A C for the year.
Yeah. Thompson Dow. Stay or go before, because he's out of contract as well.
I would keep him if he's fit. It depends how he's recovering from his injury, which sounds like it's giving him a bit of trouble. He's played every game he's been fit for, so the coaches do see him being a value into the side. I would certainly keep him just for the experience as well, because you can't cut too deep.
I would keep him because I actually liked him. If Hugo doesn't seem to come back to what he was, I think Thompson Dow was really good on the wing when he did get pushed to that wing spot. He seems to be a player that's worked out what his niche is. He is probably going to be the next McIntosh, where he's just a role player. And that's fine. Like a lot of players in the AFL are just role players, but just be good at it. And I think he's really worked out that he's going to be a good role player, and he can just put his head down and get the ball. He can snag a goal. He does read the drop of the ball quite well. Plenty to clean up his kicking a little bit. But for a player on the wing, he's not afraid to put his head down and be a better battering ram. A lot of times I thought he lost the ball. He made a mistake. His second efforts were good, and he copped the high, and that's where he's not scared to get hit. Got a free kick, and it gets the ball back and controls it. So I would give him a 1-year deal, and then just see how he goes next year.
Yep.
If he doesn't get better next year or he doesn't recover from his injury, it's fine. You can move on from him.
He's a keep until the kids are ready to take his spot.
Yeah, and then you need depth, and then even if the kids are ready, you still need depth. Like you need 40 players on a list, or is it 38 or something like that? So you can't just not have anyone, and you don't want to just have another young kid. You want to have somebody that's got a bit of experience that can come in and help. So I think he does really well on the wing, and he could be that next McIntosh replacement on that wing. For his season, I think he played the first half. And when he was playing, I'd give him a C+.
Yeah, C.
Same?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, what was this one Ken says? Quite a few who could be in trouble. Yeah. I think we'll cut, Ken. I think we're going to cut probably about 6 players. I can name off the top of my head pretty quickly the players that aren't going to be there. And look, even if you look at the back line, I think we already named 1 or 2 players that are going to be gone. You need to cut. I think it's the mandatory. You have to cut 3 players. And we're going to at least get. We're at least going to get 1 or 2 players. 2 players on the draft, or 3, depending. Obviously, maybe if you trade out a Sonzi, like you were saying, or Jacob Blight and a Caleb Smith for a couple of, thirds and fourths, so you can get in Callaway. There's a chance of we could still in the end still keep our first round picks. Now, I think with Oscar Allen announcing he's going to Brizzy, they're going to get a first round pick. Not that I agree to it. They should get a first round pick number 2. I think that's quite insane that you get that pick for a player leaving that probably doesn't deserve the money. But 2 or 3, you can get a Sam Grillage, you can get a Josh Lindsay, Sam Cummings, Oliver Greaves. Like, there's a lot of young players that you could bring in to do it, and not cut too deep at the same time. Timmy Taranto,
our BNF winner.
Yeah, I would definitely say. This year he's always been a good midfielder. The only thing that I would love for him to do is clean up on his kicking. It's the only thing I really dislike about him. He's good. He's a hard runner. He's not afraid. His tackling at the start of the year was quite poor. I started to notice that in the first 3 or 4 rounds, where he wouldn't push a bit hard to get to the player and allow that player to jog away. I think it was the Freo game or the Brisbane game, that went away pretty quickly. Just his kicking skills to players needs to be a bit better instead of just getting it and throwing the boot. But what I did appreciate this year was that he kicked a lot more goals. Like, he really went forward this year, and he had a month where he only averaged 2 goals a game. Like, he just floated forward and just found the ball every single time, and it was really good because I'd been saying it. We need the midfielders. In our prime, our midfielders were a really big punch for us to score. In the last few years, the midfielders haven't really seemed to do that. And I always thought, I remember Tim Taranto when he was at the Giants, and I remember him midfield / half forward, and he would always kick goals, and he was really good at it. And I hated when he was playing for the Giants. And they kind of went away with that. I feel like when they got him, they just drafted him to be a pure midfielder, and he's not. He's not, to me. He's just too slow. To be a 1A midfielder, I think he needs to be like a 1B and a 1B forward. And he definitely seemed to kick a lot more goals this year than he was previously. So I'll see if I can find it. He did go, his stats, which is weird how it's changed. Last year, he averaged 24.5 disposals, and that was classified as elite. This year, he went up to 25.6, and it's above average. So it's crazy how you gain an extra disposal and you go from elite to above average. But he's done very similar for this year for Taranto. He's done very similar to Prestia, where his kicking went from 13 per game down to 10, but his handballs went from 11 to 15. So he's gained an extra disposal, but he's converted from more handballs than kicks. Marking went down, tackles went down. He was an elite tackler last year at 5.5, now to 4.9, which is still above average. And clearances are at 5.5 this year, which is classified as above average. So, and he kicked 15 goals this year. As a good reminder,
I think our next best mid was 8.
Pardon?
Yeah, McIntosh I think was second for midfielders this year with 8.
Yeah. So and he kicked 15-5. So it is good to see that that he's getting some, goals. I think we need it. I think you can't rely on Tom Lynch to always be the goal kicker or those big, tall, young forwards. Midfielders need to come forward and kick some goals. So if I could, you'd have to say he's the other player who gets an A+ for his season.
Definitely.
I wonder who's real. I really wonder who's going to get the best and fairest. What are you saying there? West Coast won't get the first 3 picks. No, West Coast don't get the first 3 picks, Ken, but they have pick 1. Oscar Allen leaves, and I believe they're saying that West Coast is going to pay him. So Bulldogs are going to pay him. Brisbane are going to pay him, are going to pay Allen like close to $1 million a year, which will then trigger the band 1 compensation, which has to go to just below your first pick you have, which you hit theirs is pick 1. So that Yomaka gets pick 2, which then they'll go. The reports are they'll take Willem Dersma and Cooper Duff Tyler with their pick 1 and 2. So they won't have 3 first-round picks. Harley Reid's staying, so that's not going to happen. Jack Ross. What are you thinking of Jack Ross?
Yeah, pretty good. He's found a role as a tagger, I think, which is obviously something important, and he has shut down some opposition players when they've been getting on top of us. Like he shut.
I just think it's
Reid
down and Merritt down. Yeah.
Yep.
I just think that one, and I love that because what else did he have? Like besides that, if he didn't have that tagging skill, I really didn't see a future for him after this year because he does the exact same thing as Hopper and Taranto and Prestia do. He's not fast enough. Yeah. Kicking skills haven't been that great this year. Could really improve on that. But I will say he gives 110% effort. Like he's never afraid to hit the pack quite hard. Overhead marking ability is still really good. I really think next year Uzi really needs to lean on that tagging role. I know the tagging these days is gone, but I definitely think if Ross didn't tag, to his credit, if he didn't tag Merritt and Harley Reid, I definitely think we wouldn't have won those 2 games. I just think that's how much impact he had. So I think if you have that trigger or that lever to pull, we should have done it. I know Ooze is all about we need to work on our game style, but I think you pull that every single time you can.
Yep.
What do you give him for a rating, mate?
B.
B.
But as for his tagging, I think Uze's mentioned he's probably stuck between him tagging and giving kids midfield time because you probably can't do both with the midfield that we have at the moment.
And I definitely get that part. But then that's when my whole theory is that's when you have Hopper and Taranto rest at the centre half forward or on a flank.
Yeah.
And then you bring a young forward midfield in, so you still can do it. I just think you've got to find a different solution for it. We'll go on to the forwards, which is quite a giant list. As you can see, there's actually a lot more forwards than we have anything else. So I definitely think this year is where you'll see, I think a lot of our delistings will come from forwards than any other position.
That's a lot of players.
We'll start from where we've been starting anyway, and we'll go straight from to Ryan Mansell. How have you had him this year, mate?
Yeah, he's been really good. I think he's had some games where he's kicked 2 or 3 goals. Good pressure player. Likes to niggle the opposition a bit, which is always good. I noticed at times he was playing on Stewart on the weekend, maybe waiting to for him to do something silly, which he tends to do from time to time. But yeah, he's certainly one that you've got to have in your side.
Yeah, well, he kicked 18 goals this year, so he has not as good as he was last year, because last year he kicked 21. So pretty close if you think about it. That's actually not too far off his average. If you get 20 goals nearly out of a season for him, is quite good. I definitely think he started off really quiet for a season. Obviously, then Richmond got hit with the Richmond tax. He did the shove away, got suspended. Nobody else got suspended for it. Everyone's have been let go for it, no matter who it is or what they've done. Nick Velosno got shoved into a contest, and they just said, "Oh, lucky you didn't knock anybody out." So it's the action they're suspending, not the. So they're suspending the outcome, not the action, which we were told they were. As usual, Richmond get hit with that punishment. Nobody else does. Then he was
Funny
real when he
that.
came back. I think he really struggled in that start of the season, then the suspension, then coming back from the suspension struggle. I really think that after the bye, he really got back into what he was last year. Considering he kicked 18 and last year was 21, so it shows you in pretty much half a season he nearly did what he did last year. I do like the angriness in him because he seems to get some free kicks from it. He really gets under the skin of other defenders. And it's good to have that in your team. I think it's a good thing he can lean on to be his little niche. Be that Hayden Ballantyne from Freo for us, where the players just hate him, but they give away too many dumb free kicks because they get angry at him. It's a player you love to have on your team, but it's a player you don't want to play against. And he wants to be a leader in our team. And you can see that at the start of the year, he's really trying to push towards being a senior player. He's 25, so. And his stats say that he was better than he was last year compared to what he was. So he's up on disposals. His handballs are up. His marks are up. His tackles are up. His goals per game are up as well. So the only thing he has below average is his handballs. That's about it. Everything else is above average. So he has improved as well, even with missing quite a chunk of the season as well. What are you going to give him for a rating?
I'll go with B.
Yeah, I'll go with the B as well. Jacob Koschitzke.
Ooh, Cozzy.
I feel bad for him.
I've actually got a stat on him, which is I've got a question for you. Yes.
Here we go. Hit me with it.
All right. So I know he's up against second rucks when he's been rucking.
Yes.
But he's
in the AFL or the VFL, sorry?
And the AFL.
Yep.
Okay. I won't bring up his ruck numbers. Hang on. Do this. Now we'll get them.
Well, while you're doing that, he's on fire in the VFL. I'll tell you that right now. I think he's averaged.
Yeah, he's
last
been
2 or 3
really well.
games.
I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of respect for the role that he's played this year, knowing that he's probably with all the key forwards we've drafted, and that's the position we brought him for. He probably knew he wasn't going to play many games.
But then he went down
regarding
back.
Regarding his hit out numbers, he's actually ahead of Bolter as in terms of rucking, and that's probably a similar role to what he's played. So the question for next year is, with Sims missing at least the start of the year, I'd imagine, with his
injury, I think they said he'll miss.
Would he be someone that you consider for a second ruck role?
I reckon.
And
I reckon
that
you
also
could do it.
Yeah.
And
where I'm going with that is we keep Bolter in the back line.
Yeah, I like the idea of it because then you can float him forward and he's not the worst forward. Like he can teach and he can fill that void.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to be a player where if a young forwards go down or a Tom Lynch goes down, they bring him back in just to be that experienced forward to help out. I just don't see Bolter going. The only way Bolter, I think you can do that is when Bolter goes back is Young and Miller have to be injured for Bolter to go back down to the back line. And I just don't see Koschitzke again. And look, he's got another year in his contract. And like Jake Batchelor did the VFL report and said all credit to him. He's come in, he knows the game plan we're trying to do, the club system, and he's been a really good mentor for a lot of these young players. I wouldn't be against when his contract's up is hiring him as a buddy coach. I think he's got the IQ for it. I just don't think he can do what he thinks as much as he would love to. Because when he came across, the idea was for him to step in and replace Jack Riewoldt. Obviously, it's big shoes to fill, but he just never worked out for him. And then he ended up being and he went as a really good defender in the VFL. Like he did really well as a defender. So which tends to be a common occurrence for forwards. Forwards can seem to go back and backs seem to go forward. Honestly, I really wouldn't be surprised if we had a phone call from, say, North Melbourne or West Coast offering a 4th round pick for him. Just, hey, we need some defense. We need some help. Do you need him?
Well, if we got an offer, it's something you consider. I'm just trying to think that, he's got another year on his contract, so we need to, over preseason, we need to put him in a position where he could potentially play. And I'm thinking of the ruck because Nank's getting towards. If we're not careful with him, he's gonna end up like Marich at the end of his career.
Yep.
And you can see at the end of this year that he was starting to be worn down, and that might be worse again next year. So we are going to need someone to give him a chop out. So unless we're going to get a ruck in from somewhere as a stopgap, either a delisted one or from a state league, we need someone that can help Nank out. And I'm thinking, well, given that his numbers are they're serviceable, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a position that we do need, and it's something he can do. So that might be where I'm coming from.
Nah, which is a fair call. Like I'm definitely not against it. Like when he came in, I think it was the West Coast and Essendon game when he played that 2 or 3 weeks. I didn't want him to go out. I think he did a really good job when he was in. Yeah, it sucked. He could have kicked a couple of goals and could have changed a lot of stuff. But I think he was just trying to do what was right for the young fellas, and that's, I think he's always been asked to do. So, and for a season, really, I can only give him a C because he only played 2 games. So,
yeah. And the other part, of course, we know he can play forward, and our key forwards aren't going to play every game next year because the game is pretty tough on them. So it's also something you can fill in for.
Yeah, and that's probably the thing you probably could do with him with Lynch is when Lynch goes out for a rest, because I think it's going to be the same. I think Prestia, Nank, and Lynch all need to be under the same bracket for next year. It's that we'll try and play you as many games as possible, but we also don't want to burn you out because we really might need Lynch for another year after this year. After 20, really might need Lynch until 2027.
Yep.
So you really
that'll give the draftees. We've drafted 3 key forwards. That'll give them 2 more years to be ready to take over a key forward spot. Oh, sorry, the number 1 key forward spot.
And then have that. Like these boys will, if you look at the thing with that, if we can make it to 2027 with them, they've also had 3 years with Tom Lynch as a mentor for him.
Yeah.
Which is a big key thing for some players. Like Lynch, when he was at Gold Coast, he said he never had that. Jack Ribot had that because he had Richo to learn under. So he had a good 2 or 3 years with Richo to teach him. So that's what you really need to do with Lynch. And it's probably this is what you do with Kaczynski is Lynch goes out for a week. Kaczynski comes in as that veteran forward. Lynch goes out 4 or 5 weeks later on. Lynch comes out. He goes in. And you just allow him to be a leader. So we'll move on for him. What about Taj Houghton?
Oh, Taj, he's going to be something special.
I've got him down as of a mixture of Shea Bolton and Shane Edwards.
Yeah. If he obviously I'd like to see more midfield time next year, but he just does things in traffic. His ability to get the handball to a player on the run and they don't have to break stride. Just think he's a natural footballer. It's the best way I can describe it.
I think it was the North Melbourne game where he just sidestepped 2 players, and I was watching it. I was just like, but that was what he was. And I was like, I remember his draft when he was drafted. It was Taj, and it's his ACL. But I remember watching his highlights, and it was that really quick short step pump fake, and everybody falls for it. And it was Shea Bolton and Shane Edwards. I just remember that they're not bulky, they're not tall. There's that lanky, quick players that just have such fast footsteps, and he just gets around them. And he's got a good leap on him, so definitely that's the Shea Bolton part where he has that high leap. Very high IQ. I think a preseason under him next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the NAB Rising Star.
Yeah, he's eligible.
Yeah, because he didn't play 10 games. I think he played 9 games, so he's eligible by 1 game. I wouldn't be surprised next year if he comes out and has a game where he gets 20 disposals and kicks 4 goals and just tears a game apart by himself. Well, if I give him for his season for a rating, because it's hard to obviously give him a giant rating because he didn't play more than half a season, so it's quite hard. But for when he did play, I would probably give him a C+, just because he wasn't quite getting as much touch as you will.
Yeah, probably a B- would be fair.
Yeah,
but again, it's hard to rate him because he only played half the year and had no preseason.
Yeah,
so we certainly look for him to launch next year.
Well, I think for his future, he's going to be a 50-50. He's going to be 50% forward, 50% midfield. Or he might be like that break glass sort of what they did with Shea. We need more speed. Just at the right time of the game, we'll just throw him in there for some speed and see how he goes.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Jonty Fall. So Jonty Fall, as I recall, he played 16 games this year. I probably think it was quite a surprise package considering he was coming off with a back injury. I'm pretty sure from the under 18s, and I just think he's a bloody good player. He's definitely reminds me a bit like of Nick Riewoldt or Jack Riewoldt, the way he plays the game, especially the way he moves as well. More like a Nick Riewoldt than Jack. Keeps himself up straight all the time. Really good mark. His marking ability got better through the year. He used to not be the greatest. Like he's reported, it was his marking ability. It was something he needed to work on. He definitely started to improve that through the year. Goal kicking definitely needs to be worked on. But he still kicked 9 goals. But the one thing he needs to improve on is kicking, because he kicked 9 goals, 18. But in that, just looking at that 9 goals, 18, that is an insane amount of attempts at a goal for a first-year forward, which is generally like the most general forwards at the start of their career take a year, 2 to 3 years before they really get into their own. If you think about that, if you had switched that around and kicked 18-9, it would be up there for winning nearly no Rising Star.
Well, a 20-goal season as a first-year key forward, which is what that would have been. That's a pretty decent start to your career.
And I just think a bit of confidence in his set shot. I think it'll go a long way for him next year to look the way he played this year. If he could maintain that and maybe go up a step a little bit more, I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe the number 1 forward for us in the next 2 years.
Yeah, he or Armstrong's going on really well too for that spot. It'll be one of those two that's eventually a number 1 forward, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a matter of who gets there first.
Yeah, definitely does. What do you
going for? They'll be a pretty decent 1-2 punch.
Do you think he'll be centre half forward, or do you think he'll be like the deep forward? Because I think it should be Harry Armstrong as the deep forward. I just don't think Harry Armstrong has the speed, the mobility as much as what Jonty does, and that's definitely why I think you'd have sort of what it was like for Lynch and Jack. Jack was the centre half forward. Tom Lynch was the deep forward. I definitely think that's how it should work, is allow Jonty to get up the ground, crush those packs, and get some good marks in.
Yeah. The fact that they're both, like he and Armstrong, both going up the ground in their first year is pretty good too. It shows that they've got a good tank on them for this stage of their career. That's certainly something we can build on. I would have Jonty as a centre half forward in the future.
There's a question for you from my screen. There's a question for you there to answer to about Harry Armstrong's goal kicking and Fall's goal kicking. I wouldn't say it's technique for Harry Armstrong, because Harry Armstrong is a really good technique at goal kicking, considering he was traded by Matthew Lloyd. I think Armstrong got injured, so he didn't play enough games for us to see his goal kicking ability. And the fitness is definitely one for Jonty. I definitely think that's because he didn't have a preseason. He was out injured with the preseason. So there's definitely a chance that next year he might come in and be a lot better at goal kicking, because he wasn't rated to be that bad of a goal kicker. They did say that he needed to improve on it. But he did have games where under 18s where he kicked 6 or 7 goals a game. And he pretty much carried, as I recall the reports, he pretty much carried the under 18 squads, the GV, the Golden Valley Rebel team, to the grand final by himself, because Lawler was out injured. So he definitely has a player that is willing to put the team on his shoulder and kick goals and win them games. So Jasper Alga. Sorry, before that, actually. Jonty's season, what do you give him as a rating? I have to say a B. I know he kicked 9 goals, 18, but it's not what I expected from him. I really think he was going to come out, play 16 games, and do what he did.
I'll probably go a B-, and I would go higher if his goal accuracy was better. That's the only. He does everything really well. It's the only thing he really needs to work on. I think a few of them should spend the summer with Fev, who's at the club helping out the women's program, because he was a pretty good set shot. So if they can do a bit of practice with him, it should go very well for us.
All right, well, we'll move on to Jasper Alga, which is probably going to be a hard one. He didn't play. I think he played 4, maybe 5 games. I do have Where is he? Gasparov here. So what did he play? He plays 4 games. So he really
Yeah, 4.
probably can cook his speed through him. I think he's got the talent. I don't think he's going to be a player for the future. But unfortunately, he just got injured and he was a sub in his first game as well, which shouldn't happen. So really quick, just give him a C for a rating. He really couldn't do much considering he was injured and not playing.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to be the same rating for Liam Fawcett as well, where he played the one game, showed really to me he shouldn't have been dropped, but I understood Lynch was coming back, so they had to bring Lynch back in, and unfortunately then Fawcett got injured, had a good game on the weekend, kicked 3 goals too. He'll be on a watch for next year to see how he goes, because he signed a 1-year deal, so he's out of contract by next year, and that will be a watch for him to see what he can do. Unless Port Adelaide come knocking for him still this year and ask to trade for him because they need some key position forwards. They just got rid of Jeremy Finlayson, so they don't even have another tall.
Yeah, true. They delisted him. Regarding the score for the season, I'll put Lafau in the same category. Only played 1 game, got subbed out half-time with another injury, so it's hard to rate these guys when they haven't really played.
Probably going to be the same with Bauer as well, really. And I just definitely didn't get enough game time to play. Sims was good. I think, did Sims surprise you to expect that? Would you expect it from Sims when he came in?
He's definitely ahead of where I thought he would be.
He played 11 games and kicked 4 goals.
Yep. Yeah. His contested marking is pretty decent for a kid of his age. But he was probably, out of all the draftees, he was probably the surprising one, given that he was playing earlier than I thought he would and before tired than I thought he would.
I think he was definitely tired. I just think they had no other option because there was no other tools in the VFL that could come in. So I think he was just made to kind of grind it out. No, man, I don't think there's going to be any forwards that are going to go wing. The only other person I could think that's that height who could do a ring roll is maybe you could do Smiley or Mauer or Noah Bolter. I just don't think any of our forwards have that capability to... They don't have the running capability to be a wingman, really.
I think our wings going forward will be... I'd like to draft one this year, some outside speed. But I certainly don't think a key position player there would make too much sense.
No, not at all. It depends on... And that would depend on who we draft as well, who could play that wing position for us. Look, quite happy with Sims' accuracy on goal, which was quite weird because he was known to be a good goal kicker in under-18s. Needs to improve because his accuracy for goal is 40%. So definitely something he needs to improve on as well. But I definitely would have to give him a B- because he definitely did a lot better than I thought he was going to do. I really didn't think he was going to get a game this year at all, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd agree with the rating.
Yeah. All right, then we can move on to Tom Lynch for you. The old red fever. Red fever guy. He definitely sees red fever when he crosses that white line to kick a goal. Definitely wants to punch somebody in the head, I swear to God, every game. But he did a bad year, like overall. He played 16 games and he kicked 26 goals. But he did kick 22 behinds. So the accuracy is 50-50 for goal. Definitely needs to, I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe it's his finger, but he needs to improve on that. But when he was on the ground, I think he made our team a lot better. I think there's a few games where he didn't play because he was suspended. I think we would have won if he was playing. Really, you can see it when you had to put all that pressure on Jonty and Sims to be the key forwards. It just didn't work out. I think if he played, we would have won. He was definitely down on his stats overall. He was below average. He's below what he was last year for the disposals, kicks, goals. Goal accuracy went from 53% down to 41% this year. So that's a big drop off in his goal kicking. And his marking went down as well by a mark each per game. But that's obviously maybe a lot of that stats for him could be dependent because of the season and how young we are in the forward line. And it wasn't like our midfield was really well connected with our forwards as well. So for what he is and what he gave us, I'd probably give him a B.
Yeah, he finished off the season really well, which is pleasing. Against North Melbourne in Tassie, he was probably on for a huge game, but we just couldn't get it down there after quarter time.
Yeah.
He was marking everything. He had, I think in the first quarter, he had 5 contested marks, and the average for the season, or for every player in the comp, is Darcy from the Dogs at about 3.2 per game. That's how big a game he had, and that was in one quarter.
Shit. Yeah. Okay. So that he was on for a day out.
Yeah. It just goes to show how important he is going forward, holding the fort for the kids. And I think because he missed those 5 games and then finished the season well, so we might need to rest him a bit next year, and we'll get more out of him that way.
Well, I think after the 5 weeks off, I think he came back and his body seemed to be moving a lot better. He didn't seem to be as rigid as he was before. So he's had, if you think about that, like he's had the 2023 he played 4 games. 2024 he played 4 games. So both last 2 seasons he's played 8 games in total. I just don't know if his body has been quite recovered. Then this year he's played 16. You could see he was getting sore, and I'd been calling it for the bit of the year. Every now and then, every 2 months, he needs a week off where he doesn't play any games to allow his body to recover back to it. So I think if he can get a good preseason under him next year, he might go back to what he was a couple of years prior, because his body, I know everyone's like, oh, he's a bit older. Is he older, or is it just his body hasn't quite recovered from all the surgeries and
I think
all the
it's a
shit
bit of
that's going on
both.
with him?
I mean, there were games he looked like he hadn't played for 2 years, but he certainly isn't. Doesn't have the turning circle he used to have. I think the way forward for him next year and the year after, if he goes on, is to rest him every 4 to 6 weeks. Because the kids are going to get better as well, so they'll be more ready to take over for a week or so here or there.
Well, yeah, that's what you'd hope by now. That you'd hope in their second and third year they can handle a 1 week without Lynch being around. Yeah, that's probably a good one. That puts his grading down. The suspensions, he seems to get himself in a lot of trouble. Doesn't know when to understand that it's just words and just leave him alone. You got 2 medallions hanging on your neck. Half the guys there that are giving you shit don't have any medallions around their neck. Yeah, look, that could be true. Some people are saying his age is why his goal kicking is going. But I don't know, it's hard because you can't really. I'm not really 100% agree with that, because you look at Tex Walker from Adelaide. He's older and he's still kicking goals like no tomorrow. So, oh well. Well, we've done.
He's also got 2. He's also got 2 other experienced key forwards around him, which helps too. Whereas when Lynch is in our side, he's very much our number 1 and the focal point. So that would help with Walker.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I do agree with that. With widescreen TV, that if he could play 18 games next year, I think it'd be a good number. Yep. So it gives him 3 or 4 games through the year to rest him in between. Or, when it comes to the bye, you give him the week off before the bye, so he gets a 2-week break. Allow his body to get a good break.
And depending when the interstate games fall too, that might be an option as well.
Yeah, which maybe what they'll do next year, which wouldn't be a bad idea. They do that next year with Dion Prestia, where they don't travel interstate.
Yeah.
We've done McKelty Lefau just because he hasn't played enough. Steely Green, what do you reckon of Steely Green? Happy with his season?
Steely he's another player who's sort of a bit of a whipping boy, but he's had some good games. I mean, he went out of the side, then came back in, and I thought he played better after that. But he still has a couple of down games here or there. He doesn't seem to. He's not that consistent at this stage. He's signed up for next year, so another year into him, we'll see what he can do next year.
So he played 19
games. Season a C.
Yeah, C. Yeah, I could go probably a C plus, just because he had those couple of games where he kicked really good, then he had a big lull, and then he went back to the VFL, got his form and confidence back, and came back and then kicked goals again. It's like I think he found his little mojo back. So I appreciate knowing you're making what's going wrong, go back, fix it, and come back in. So he kicked 11 goals, 9. So he's probably another one as well. They need to improve on your accuracy. I know you're not going to kick them all, but it's just above 50% on goal kicking. Quite annoys me how these players kick below or just at 50% goal kicking when you're meant to be doing this for a living. So, It's probably not much to say about Steele.
Our accuracy. Fawcett was at 100%, but he had one goal. Elgar was the next best at 66.7. Lawler at 64.7, and then Houghton at 60. So it's all the kids that are kicking straight, aside from the keys. And Seth Campbell was next to 57.
Lawler's going to be
the rest are all 50 or below.
Well,
so
Knight Ken, mate. I know
got a bit of work to do over summer.
Yeah. Well, Jacob Bauer, I think we'll just probably pass through him. I think he's gone by the end of the year.
Yeah, had his chance, didn't take it. And unfortunately got hurt. But given what we've got on our list that are already ahead of him, it seems it's hard to see that he's got a future there. Sadly.
Yeah. Seth Campbell wins our leading goal kicking with 28 goals.
Yes.
I think he's
fantastic.
From last year to this year, he's just grown again. I wouldn't be surprised next year if he does it again.
Yep. I'm thinking for next year, I want to see more midfield time that'll elevate him as a player again.
Midfield time, if I could do it, and you could, I would say 60-40. So 60% forward. I think you still need him as a dynamic forward that gets goals, and then give him that 40% chance in the midfield to go up the ground and get the ball and use his pace. Because he has the pace and he knows. He seems to know who is faster. And this year, multiple times where he knew you can't catch me. I'm just going to put the afterburners on and leave you behind. So,
yeah. Well, regarding midfield, I'd like to see him as more of a burst player in there.
Yeah. If I could grade him, he'd probably be an A.
Yep, A.
I know he had a little lull in between a couple of rounds, but I think consistently, really for the whole year, to be a small forward and win your leading goal kicking for a club, it's quite impressive. We'll go Sam Lawler. I think number one pick.
For the games he played, you give him an A+.
Yeah.
He's just super.
And he was so calm. He's very calm, very well done by hand, which was all reported, but they did say that any kicking is really good. He never seems to blast away. He seems to be one of those players. I can't wait till he's maybe like 50% or 40% midfield time when he's getting a lot more of the ball, because that ball going inside 50 when he kicks it, it generally is low and fast and hit the target. None of this big tower terror kicks where you got to wait for the ball to come down. Hopefully they just put him in cotton wool and get him ready for the preseason and get his hamstring right. So I know he's back running again, so they're showing good signs already from his recovery from the surgery, which is a good sign.
Yeah. The interesting one to watch is a player from Freo, Hayden Young. He's had the same surgery that Lawler had on the hamstring. Yep. So hopefully Youngie goes well, because he's a pretty good player and an important player as well. So hopefully that holds up, and it's the same for Sam. But regarding Lawler, offensive 1v1 contests, he hasn't lost one.
They did say it was a Dusty clone, didn't they?
Yeah. Funny you mentioned Dusty. I had the thought the other day that, as we know that Dusty and Lambert swapped over roles. I think that will be the case for Lawler and Houghton going forward. So we can basically have a Dusty forward and a Dusty in the midfield at the same time. Yeah, well,
widescreen's got that idea as well.
Yeah, it's certainly one to look forward to, having those two play together.
Yeah, and Smiley as well, if I had that as well. I do agree with it. Between Lawler, Houghton, Campbell, and Rioli, the future is quite good for rotating speed and power. I'd add Smiley into that as well for the future of the midfield as you rotate. Smiley can go forward, which he's done it when he was younger, and then Rioli definitely can go in the forward. So can Houghton and stuff like that as well. Which is, now that I think about that, he's actually not on my screen, and Rioli should be a small forward. So I haven't even got Rioli on here.
I
haven't got him anywhere. I missed him.
Oh, we'll do him next then.
Just so we'll do Rioli. What do you reckon of Rioli?
He's one that certainly had a better year. I mean, that tackle against West Coast is the moment of the season to mine. Yeah, that, and along with Browns as well.
Well, I think that was a good launching platform. It gave him the confidence that he could do it.
Yeah.
And how many times after that West Coast game was there tackles where people were like, it was the one against Steele Sidebottom, got him twice against Collingwood. He got Sheasel just before his 50th touch to make sure he couldn't get to 50. there was a game against Geelong where they were postponing the ball coming out of the back line, and Rioli was there, and they're like, Rioli is there. Why would you take your time?
Yep.
Like, this is what he does. I would give him. He started off a little. I think he got injured at the start of the year, so he started off a bit slow. I'd give him a B minus, just because he didn't start it from like he wasn't constant through the whole year. There's improvement, and the improvement is consistency.
Yeah, the way forward, what will elevate him further is more midfield time and having a bigger tank. So it's a big off season for him.
Yeah,
build the tank up, and he'll have a bigger impact in the midfield next year. The way he's tracking.
All right, well then we'll move on to Harry Armstrong. So I know Harry. I don't think Harry played enough games to qualify for NAB Rising Star. I think he didn't. I think he played.
He's eligible next year.
Yeah, so I think he's just his body. I think he just needs to work on his body, and that's about it. Like, I don't think he'll get better as he goes. I think he's just going to be one of those forwards that needs time. Good goal kicker, really good at his kicking, his set shot and goal. Really impressed with that. I think he's a marking ability. He's getting better as he goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they put him back in the VFL to play some more games. Not sure if he's eligible to play in the VFL finals. I know him and Houghton can, and Rioli can. I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to see Harry Armstrong back down there just to get some more games in terms of games up a bit more confidence.
Yeah, we might have to apply on that because he's under what you need for AFL games, but he hasn't played enough VFL games to qualify.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think it's above six or above the VFL, and I think it's 12 or below AFL.
Yeah, okay.
But his contested marking's very good for his age.
Yeah. He gets up the ground. He gets up when he gets his lead going. He definitely knows how to position his body right to balance them, so they really can't seem to beat him. And you imagine, like, he's put on a bit of, like, compared to what he was at the start of the year to where he is now. I think having that big break really gave him a chance to work on his upper body strength and to make him a lot more powerful and hard to beat one-on-one. So I wouldn't be surprised next year he's even better because he's had a full preseason and then he's had pretty much another preseason during the season to work on his all upper body strength and then go into next year and get another preseason under his belt.
Yeah.
And I think really would love to get him in there because his goal, if he can get the ball in his hands more, there's a higher chance of kicking more goals because he's generally quite good at kicking goals.
Yeah.
And really we could score more. Really need scoring right now. So we'll move on to the ruck. And we're almost done. There's only 4 players left to go. We'll start with Nate Curvis. I'll probably give Nate probably an A. Just never dies. That ball's still in him. Competes hard, goes up the ground, kicks goals, will float down to the back line and take some really good defensive marks to protect us from being scored on.
Very good at that. Yeah, I'd give him an A as well. But he does need a chop out next year because he's starting to slow down. He's showing signs of that.
I think you can see that. I think you could see that at the end of the year that he was really burnt out, and it was killing us in the midfield. That he was just too tired. As much as Sims had tried, they definitely needed to. He's got to be the same next year as Tom Lynch. You want to get about 20 games, 19 to maybe 18 to 19 games out of him, and he has every 6 weeks he has a week off. Because we really have, and then we go on to the next one, Oliver Hayes-Brown, and there's no guarantee that he's going to be the replacement for Nate Curvis. So, and he's hasn't played an AFL game, but definitely improved in the VFL. I did keep an eye on him during the season. Has definitely got a lot better, and there's definitely a good chance next year. With the idea of the whole 5 men on a bench, there's a good chance that he gets a game in there next year as that pinch ruck.
I think so. He's one that he's developing well for his size. He's still a bit raw, but he is developing nicely. A bit like a Soldo type. Yeah.
I'm probably not going to rate Oliver Hayes-Brown or the Kebab, I think they call him, or different names everyone's got him, but I wouldn't give him a rating just because he didn't play an AFL game.
Yeah. Colleen has barely played even at VFL.
Yeah, I would just say he's gone.
Can't rate
I think he'll be delisted.
Yeah.
And then Samson Ryan, you can't delist him because I think he's still got another 2 years on his contract.
Yep.
But look, maybe the penny drops next year and he becomes the number one ruckman. I don't know. What's his age? Because that would be a good tell. Because I know what do they say? Ruckman take a good 4 years.
Yeah, he's 25. That's as of December 31. I'm not sure if he's 24 or 25. But he's listed as 25.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, mine says 24. So he's 25 this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 25 this year and the 9th of
Funny
December. So he's really next year that he makes it, or he's just going to be on the list until they can get rid of him or they try and trade him away.
A funny stat on Samson Ryan, he's on contested possession percentage, he's our number one player, which you wouldn't pick.
No, you wouldn't actually.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So it's a surprising stat.
But he's one he's got to come on next year, otherwise it will be getting to the point where he's not going to.
Yeah. No, I definitely I definitely agree on Samson Ryan. He's definitely going to have to be that. If he doesn't make it next year, I think Richmond now would need to start making some plans of if Ryan doesn't make it, who's our next ruckman? Because Nank's got 2 years left in him. I think next year and the year after. And I think he'll go to Tassie for 1 year and that's about it, and he's done.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I just don't see what he's got in him. All right, well, what do you reckon of the season overall for our season? You know, maybe you can always do you want to rate it in halves, because it was a tale in my opinion, of two halves where the first half of the year wasn't that great. And then the second half of the year, we definitely see the game plan come through and the players seem to work it out and seem to have got it going quite well.
Overall, like pre-season, I thought the number 6 was in my mind as to the number of wins. We had 5 of them, so we could have had a couple more, but yeah, that's young sides don't always know how to win, which is something that we'll have to improve on next year. I'm pretty happy with the season overall. I think Fox Footy gave us a B, so I'll stick with that.
Yeah,
we were actually we got the best grade of all the sides at Mistigate on Fox Footy's rating.
Which makes sense if you think about it. North was meant to be above us. They said that we were meant to be they guaranteed us to win no more than 1 to 2 games. And one thing I'd take out, I know everyone says we could have won 8 games, but we actually put ourselves, the impressive part was we put ourselves in that position to have a chance of winning 8 games, which nobody thought we were going to even put ourselves in a chance to win 5, let alone, a possibility of winning 8. So it's a good sign of maybe next year, the next stage is to maybe win 1 or 2 of those games. So where you go from 5 to 7 wins, and then the following year you work your way up. Obviously, I would like to work on our percentage. I think it was at 66 this year. I'd love to see that next year to be in the 70s, maybe mid-70s as well. That means our scoring's gone up. Depends on what the AFL does on rule changing and all that kind of crap. It can change completely, but small things that I think we need to work on. And I definitely think the midfield mix is one that I would like to improve. It's the mix I want to change. I think we all can now agree that the midfield mix of Prestia, Hopper, and Taranto doesn't work every single week.
I think looking forward to next year, if we can have, say, 6 to 8 wins, a percentage of 75-ish, and have more and more game time for the youth as part of the further handover of roles, I think we'll be fairly happy with that. Yeah.
On widescreen's comment there about the percentage, but we were 66 this year, that should be our base rate where we shouldn't drop anything below 66. Because if we're not going up at all, that shows we're also not developing at all as well, and then that's a bit of a worrying sign. Like Chris Fagan was the one who really focused on that percentage when he first took over Brisbane. And as I recall, they started at like 61. Then the following year, they had 4 wins. Then it was 5. I think they won 3 years in a row where they won like 5 or 6 games. But the percentage was going up, which means during the year, they were scoring more every year, which is then eventually it leads you into you defend a bit better, and that scoring takes over and you win as well. And I think the way we've done it is that our defense is our strongest part. And I feel like Uze is trying to build it from the defense and then work his way forward. So he works on making our defense the core piece, work up to the midfield, and then eventually once the midfield's right, then we focus on the forward line, and you go from there and you slowly develop from the back half to the front, because as much as people like to try and say offense wins you games, it doesn't. It's still defense. Right up as an example, Bulldogs are an example is where defense wins games because Bulldogs don't know how to defend,
No.
even against, unless you're a bottom 8 side, and then they're happy to put the sword to you because you don't know how to score or defend. So I like the idea of using the percentage as a measurement of how much as a team we're growing, because that's legit what we need to do is grow and score a bit more. Next year, I'd like to be scoring at least like 75 every game.
Yeah, I think. Well, regarding percentage, accuracy helps because you get 5 more points if you kick a goal, of course. And as we just saw when going through stats regarding our accuracy, all our key forwards are below 50%. So they've got work to do there. And I think also our worst losses were above 10 goals. We need to cut that down to about 8 to 10 on average for the bad ones, and allowing for 1 or 2 others to get out of hand, which we have to be realistic and expect. But if it's 8 to 10 goals for the average losses for the bad ones, I think we're on the right path. That's what we should be aiming for.
Yeah. Well, do you agree with Wisecreen? Do you think 10% jump is a massive jump in percentage, or do you think it's a good goal to set?
It's a good goal to set. Accuracy would help a lot with that.
Yeah.
And
like Jonty could have done it by himself.
Yeah. And the other part too is that we've had a lot of quarters where we have been blown out of the water, which is probably not, I would say skewed results might be the wrong way to look at it, but it hasn't helped our winning margins. Given that we've had a lot of that there's been a few of those, so we've had a fair look at what the competition are doing. So we should be able to minimise that next year and have a more consistent performance over 4 quarters.
Well, that's another one. Like that would improve our percentages, the consistency, because we were going through such a bad stage where we'd kick 2 or 3 goals in the first quarter, and then the second and third we wouldn't score at all. We'd get a point or 2, and then in the last quarter we would kick 4 or 5 goals. Where we're not doing that every single game. My goal for at the start of the year was just to every quarter at least average 3 or 4 goals every quarter. So by the end of the year, by the end of the game, you've kicked about 12 goals, 10 to 12 goals. Which might be what the goal is for next year for us as a team, to at least make sure every quarter we're not going goalless, which would be a good way to improve.
Well, the other part of it too is when on the quarters where we have a bad one and kick 2 goals, we concede 6 to 7 goals ourselves, and that's where the game gets away from you. I'm just having a look here.
Which is true, is what Wisecreen says. Not kicking a goal in quarters would be a reduction. Well, especially when you don't kick a single goal and they kick like they go on a 9-goal running spree for that one quarter. And then some of those games where we were like only down by 10 points then turns into almost a 40-point smashing, and you worry about the players going to drop their head. And that's one thing I will give Adam Uze. He did always say he wanted the players to always keep the faith and always try.
Yeah.
And it felt like to me there was never really a game where we got blown out, and then the last quarter we were like, oh, what's the point of trying? We're down by 45 or 60 points. He always seemed to find a way to motivate the boys, put their heads down that last quarter and really try and fight back. But I think we need to – red time scoring is definitely one we need to improve on as well. That seems to be a pretty big red flag for me.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure was that within
that was a problem.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's red time is like within 2 minutes of the last quarter. Is it 2 minutes or a minute?
Last 5, I thought it was.
No, it could be 5. But yeah, where we just need to control the ball a bit more there, because there was a few games where we were really close, and I was like, well, hold the ball in a little bit longer, keep the score what it is now, and you go into the next quarter feeling really good, and then they just go bang, bang, kick 3 goals, and it blows the game out. So
yeah.
Well, before we end it, because we're almost at 2 hours.
Yeah, for first quarters, our percentage was 64. It was 56, I think, for second quarters. I'll just go through this.
Yeah, that's
good. I've got a theory on it, but I've got a theory on it.
Might show you what our weakest quarter is.
Seconds. Our third quarters, how's it work? Were 69%, and our last
Okay.
quarters I think were better again. Looking at that,
That's crazy. So our second quarter are our
74.
worst. So yeah.
Yes.
So we need to.
So I've
So we
got
can.
the. It's a theory that I can't prove, but when our games were getting away from us within one bad quarter, which we had a lot of weeks,
Yep.
it was almost like the coaching staff were almost happy for that to happen, and then we can adjust within game, and that's part of our learning process. And I think looking over summer, they can really drill down into that and find out, because when there's not much pressure on the opposition, you're actually getting to see how their their plan A works and what they want to do. So we can actually have a look at that over summer and work out ways that what can we put into our own game plan to do it ourselves, and what can we do to stop them. So that's something to look forward to next year, just to see how we handle that.
Yeah, well, it's a good point, because it felt like every now and then
properly, our percentage rise will take care of itself overall.
Well, that's you think about that, then it shows you that really the first two quarters are always our worst. So if you can work out how to fix or work out what they're doing to stop them doing it, so our game plan is the one that takes over, and then they have to work out how to stop us. That you fix the first and second quarter, and we're going to be in by those percentages would be in a lot more games than we're not now, which means next year would be an improvement.
Yep. So that's it's something I thought of today after you messaged me about coming on to the show, but it's not something I can prove, but it's a thought that I had.
Oh, I don't think you have to prove it. I think a lot of people are probably going to say the exact same thing when they've watched the game. They're going, well, why do we seem like we're not making any? And there was a lot of times where people were on here commenting, or they're making their own videos, and they're saying, why are they not changing anything? They're just sticking to the same routine, and you're getting blown away. You're getting kicked 6 goals on you in a quarter, and the game's over. So,
well, looking at quarters one overall, our first quarters and second were 6 wins each. 7. Right. Our thirds we won 6, and then 8 last quarters. So the balance is there overall. It's just in some games we got blown out in one bad quarter. That might be something that I'm not saying.
Well, we have improved on that from last year.
Like that, but it's something that we've had happen to us, and we've been able to rectify that within a game.
Yeah, which we improved on from last year, because last year I don't think we won many quarters at all. There wasn't many we won.
No, we won more quarters this year.
Yeah, so which is another metric of how you've improved, which is crazy to think how we cut so much talent, and now somehow we've found a way to improve with younger talent as well.
Yeah. Yeah, with the younger
we went younger, but we also went less experienced, because you lost Baker. Who else was it? Graham, Rioli, Shea, which were in theory, there were stars in our team. And then somehow you've won more games, and you've won more quarters, and you show more fight with those players not being in your side anymore. So before we go,
certainly something to look forward to next year.
Yeah, is to see the big growth. Before we go, we'll probably just do a quick little rating on Adem Yze's season, on your personal opinion on what you think how he's gone, or what you think he needs to improve on, or what he did good that you want to, maybe give him a little shout out to, saying he's doing a good job.
Well, based on what I've just come up with, I'd say a B. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how he handles the in-game stuff next year as a way of improving. I think he's held his own this year with what he's had at his disposal, and towards the end of the year, having 3 or 4 guys in the VFL, which means we don't have a lot of players to choose from. He's going rather well, I think. And the one thing I'm impressed with is with the draftees, we didn't bring him in for 1 week and drop them after a bad game. We stuck with them, which gives them confidence and also the chance to learn the game as well. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, that's probably one thing I will say. He's probably come as a really good niche of his. He's really connected with the players. Like the whole Gibkiss and Tyler Sonsie thing, where he was down at the ground and speaking to them, instead of just sort of taking them off and let them stew in their own thoughts and making them feel worse. Definitely improves. He's found a way to improve through the season compared to preseason, how bad we were the preseason, to really how he played in the last season. We also got back-to-back wins against Essendon and West Coast. Also had to travel over to West Coast to get that back-to-back win, which is really good. Yep. No Lynch as well, so that was about your key forward. I would definitely give him another 1-year contract, just extend him by another year. So I think it gives him 2 years. Gives him a chance to breathe a little bit more, go into next year, and if he really is he going to be the player, the coach that gets us to the next premiership, or is he going to be that coach that develops the team, and then you have to get someone to come in and get us the rest of the way?
Yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case, but there was an article a couple of days ago that I saw online that we were looking over summer to give him a year extension with his contracted for next year, give him an extra year on top of that, and then we can go forward from there, which makes a lot of sense.
Widescreen TV is giving him an A for his season.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So no, I don't disagree with it. I can definitely understand from it. I just look forward to seeing what the plans are to develop the base of our game style next year. What is going to add to it? What's the next layer of the cake? As Michael was saying, I think it was last night, is that we're at the base layer now, the cake. What's the next layer of the cake going to be in game style? I'm hoping it's going to be more offense than it is anything else.
Yeah. So, yeah, certainly the connection inside 50 needs improving. But I think, really focusing on, we've got plan A, and we can see what that is. Having a plan B and C for if and when we need will be something we do over summer.
All right, well, thanks, JR. I really appreciate you coming on and giving us your opinion and some of your good stats. We'll go from there. We'll jump. Hopefully, we'll see you soon on another video. It's really good to have you on here. You got good to have somebody else's opinion as well and how they feel and what they think. Before we let you go, are you got your eye on any plays in the draft or any free agencies you want us to sign for next year?
I haven't paid too much attention to the draft. I usually wait to see what picks we've got and then do a bit of research, because the way I look at it, if we're obviously last year was different and this year as well with early picks. When we've had later picks, there's not too much point reading up on too many because you don't know what range to look at.
Yeah.
It all depends who slides. But given early picks, I would like to think that we'll have used the first one, certainly, and hopefully the second. And if we don't, look to shift that on draft night, because we will get some offers for that depending on who's still on the board.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think I might make a video in a couple of days about the ideas that, and there's also been a few reports going out that we might take one pick and then trade the other and split him to so. Well, some of the theories that I did do a video was about Essendon. If Cooper Duff-Tytler slides down and West Coast don't take him in with pick 1 and 2, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a phone call from Essendon offering their first round pick this year and the D's first round pick, because they're so heavily invested on getting Cooper Duff-Tytler, which then would allow the club to explore getting 3 different types of players, which there are some great players out there. Josh Lindsay, Sam Grillage, that's played for Richmond's VFL, Sam Cummings, which is very similar to Isaac Heaney. There's another player, Oliver Hayes, which is pretty similar to Josh Smiley. So there's some really good talent out there that I'm really looking forward to. I've got a video coming up soon with Michael and Tim again about the draftees, some of the players they want to draft and how they are as draftees. So we look forward to getting those boys on there and having a discussion about the draft, or maybe even some trade targets they want to get in. There was reports, obviously, from, I think it's Malcolm Rosa from Junior from bloody Gold Coast as well. That's a report that might be going after him. So, all right, well, then we'll end it there, mate. Yeah. Thanks for jumping on. Sorry, mate. You go.
Right. I was just going to say, I think breakaway speed is what we need. We do lack that area, so that should be a focus.
Yeah, Sam Grillage is the one. If I had to give you my opinion on a draft player, it would be Sam Grillage as that burst player. Last week he played in the Coates League, and if you watch his highlights, he definitely has that burst of speed, and he's not afraid to use it. Very similar to Banksy, but you could probably use him as more of a midfielder style.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, thanks guys for jumping on. We'll see you next time. Stay safe. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.